Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
We are heading towards an end of this introductory course on signals and systems. In this course, we have spent significant amount of time in learning Fourier series, Fourier transform, and then Laplace transform. In all this, we have given our efforts to represent an arbitrary waveform, arbitrary signal, as a sum or combination of exponential signals. But why did we do that? I think this is the time to answer that question. Okay, so before that, let us consider an LTI system with impulse response ht, and recall that if we apply a input xt under relaxed condition, then the output of the system will be yt equal to the convolution of h and x. Okay, now let us see what happens if we convolve a signal, say ht, with an exponential signal e to the power st. So this is equal to, by definition, integration of h tau e to the power s t minus tau d tau, and integrated from tau equal to minus to plus infinity. This is equal to integration of h tau e to the power st multiplied with e to the power minus s tau d tau, tau from minus to plus infinity. Now you see that e to the power st is not a function of tau, so we can write it outside the integration like this, and then this is equal to e to the power st, this term multiplied by this integration, and you should recognize that this is nothing but Laplace transform of ht, call it capital Hs, okay, where capital Hs is the Laplace transform of small h tau or t. So convolution of a signal with e to the power st is e to the power st multiplied with h of s, that is the Laplace transform of ht. This is a very important result that we should know. Now a couple of important observations. Number one, s, this s here can be any kind of number, like real, imaginary, complex, positive, negative, everything is allowed. So s can be a complex number in general. Secondly, this is true, of course, if this integration converges, that means, of course, for those values of s for which this Laplace transform exists. That's true. Next, very important observation is that if you consider this e to the power st as the input to a relaxed LTI system with impulse response ht, then ht star xt is the output. So this is the output if you consider e to the power st as the input to the system with impulse response ht. Then note that the shape or pattern, the pattern of e to the power st, which you may consider as the input to the system, and this signal e to the power st hs, that is the output, is same or similar. What I mean is this: if you draw these two signals as a function of time, say time versus e to the power st, this one, that is the input, and time versus e to the power st multiplied with hs, that is the output, then their shapes are very similar. So if e to the power st looks like this, then e to the power st multiplied with hs will also look similar, like this. The difference between this and this is only this multiplication factor, capital Hs, and Hs is not a function of time, so that is a constant. So input is multiplied with a constant, and that is our output. So the amplitude of the input and output may be different. There may be an overall constant being multiplied, but the shape will be same, exactly same. Now, such signals or functions are called eigenfunctions of that system. Okay, so let us define this. Eigenfunctions of a system. If the input xt produces the output, obviously under relaxed condition, because if the system has a different state or condition, the output may be different even for the same input. So this I definitely mean under relaxed condition. So if input xt produces output k times xt, then xt is called an eigenfunction of the system. So the shape or pattern of the input and output will be exactly similar. If the input looks say something like this, then the output will also be similar, except that the height or amplitude of the output may be different. There may be an overall constant multiplication factor. Okay. So then we will call this function or signal as a eigen function of this system. For example, any exponential signal of the form e to the power st for any value of s, positive, negative, zero, real, imaginary, complex, anything, any exponential signal is an eigensignal or eigenfunction of any LTI system. You consider any LTI system as we discussed here. You consider any LTI system where the output is the convolution of input and the impulse response. Then for all exponential signals, output will be also exponential with the same exponent s. So the pattern of input and output will be exactly similar. Yes, provided this Laplace transform exists for that particular value of s, of course. Now we have learned that number one, almost all practical signals that we see in real life, in laboratory or in other practical situation can be written as a combination or sum of exponential signals. That is what we have learned first in Fourier series. That was applicable only for periodic signals. Then we learned Fourier transform, and Fourier transform is more general than Fourier series. So even non-periodic signals can be written as a sum of exponential signals. Not always. Sometimes when the signal is not square integrable, then Fourier transform may not be possible, but Laplace transform may be possible. So Laplace transform is more general, even more general, and with Laplace transform, almost all practical signals, particularly causal signals means which has some starting point before which the signal was zero. So for all such signals, almost for all, Laplace transform is possible for some value of s. Okay, for some set of values of s, which we call the region of convergence, and then within that set of s or within that region of convergence, we can write an arbitrary signal, particularly if it is causal, as a sum of exponential signals. Okay, that is one thing we have learned. And the second thing, for LTI systems, relaxed LTI systems, we know that output, if the output corresponding to the input x1 is y1, and for x2 it is y2, then a x1 plus b x2 will produce the output a y1 plus b y2. That means for an LTI system, if some arbitrary input is given and we want to find the output, what we can do is the following. First, we will break the input as a sum of exponential signals. Then we will calculate the output for each of those exponential signals, and then we will add all those outputs. That will give the final output. Now, for LTI systems, it is very easy to calculate output for exponential signals, because for LTI systems, the input e to the power st, which is an exponential signal, will always produce the output which is of the same form, e to the power st, multiplied with some constant capital Hs. This is the multiplication factor or amplification factor or magnification factor. Okay, so, and this is given by the Laplace transform of Ht, where Ht is the impulse response of the system. So if we know Ht of a system, then we can calculate capital Hs. Then given any arbitrary input, we can break it as a sum of exponentials. Then for each exponential term, we can calculate the output in this way. Okay, and then we can add all those outputs. Let me write this. So here is the prescription for calculating the output of an LTI system for arbitrary inputs. Step number 1. Given the arbitrary input, break it as a sum of exponential signals. For example, we can do it using Laplace transform as one possible way. So we may write the input xt as a sum of or an integration of e to the power st exponential signals with coefficients capital Xs or amplitudes, then integrated over all values of s such that the imaginary component of s runs from minus infinity to plus infinity, and the real component of s, sigma, is greater than some sigma minimum, some minimum critical value where capital Xs, which is nothing but the Laplace transform of xt, where this exists. That means sigma should be within the region of convergence of capital Xs, and then whole divided by 2 pi j. This is the expression for Laplace inverse, okay, where Xs is the Laplace transform of xt, and this integration is carried within the region of convergence of x's, capital X's. So I may also write sigma and omega, they belonging to the region of convergence, which is same as saying sigma greater than sigma mean for causal input signals. Okay, great. Next, step number 2, calculate the output for each exponential component of the input. Okay, so we have a lot of exponential components which together form this input xt, and we will calculate output for each of the components. Let us consider one particular component of the input, say e to the power st, for one particular value of s, which has this amplitude given by capital Xs, then this constant divided by 2 pi j and ds. So this is the amplitude of this particular component of the input for one particular value of s. It will produce an output which will be very similar to the input. So xs e to the power st ds divided by 2 pi j. This is the input whole multiplied with a constant capital Hs, where capital Hs is the Laplace transform of small ht, that is the impulse response. So for one particular component of the input, that is for one particular s value, this is the input component and this is the corresponding output component, which is nothing but the input component multiplied by capital Hs, that is the value of Laplace transform of impulse response at that particular value of s, the exponent. Okay, so this is for one component. Now in the same way we can calculate the output for all different components, that means for all different values of s. They will follow this similar form, and then we have to add all these outputs together to get the total output. That is our step number 3. So in step 3 we will add all these outputs together. So capital Xs by 2 pi j e to the power st ds multiplied with Hs. Let me write Hs here for clarity. This is the output for one particular input component. Now let me add all such components for all different values of s, that means omega here from minus to plus infinity, and sigma should be greater than some minimum required value, or it should belong to the ROC, in this case the common ROC of Hs and Xs. both of them. Okay, so you integrate it for all values of S, that will be the total output yt. So this implies yt is equal to this. This is nothing but 1 over 2 pi j constant. You can write that outside the integration, and then here hs xs e to the power st ds integrated from minus to plus omega sigma in the ROC, and so this is nothing but Laplace inverse of hs xs. So this implies also that Laplace transform of yt output, call it capital Ys, is equal to Laplace transform of this, that means hs xs. This is also a very important result. We will come back to this again and again, but now I want to stress on a more fundamental fact, and that fact is this: for an LTI system to calculate the output, you can make a table, something like this, where you have different values of S in your first column. S is a complex number in general, so you take different complex values of S. Then for each values of S, you write the value of capital Hs, that is the value of Laplace transform of impulse response for that particular S. And then if you apply a input which is of the form e to the power st, the corresponding output will be of the form e to the power st multiplied with hs. So this is a input output table, and in this part is the most important part. This is the summary of all the different inputs and outputs. If you know this part of the table, then you know everything about that system. So basically, if you know this function capital Hs as a function of S, you know everything about the system. You can calculate the output for any arbitrary input. Okay, this is basically again applying our old policy of divide and conquer. So if we know Hs, we know everything about the system. Okay, we know, which also means that if we know ht, small ht impulse response, then also we know everything about the system, because capital Hs is Laplace transform of small ht. If you know small ht, you can always calculate capital Hs. In fact, this is not a new fact to us. We already have studied that output of the system under relaxed condition is the convolution of ht star xt, and then also we told that if you know ht, you can calculate output for any input x. Okay, so impulse response contains all the information about a system. In the same way, if you know capital Hs, that is also enough to know everything about the system, because you can calculate small ht by taking Laplace inverse of capital Hs. So knowing either capital Hs or small ht is same as knowing everything about the system. So Hs, which is the Laplace transform of ht, is called the transfer function of the system. This is an important definition for us. Remember that transfer function Hs, that is Laplace transform of ht, essentially contains all the information about a system. Now we are coming to the big question. Recall that we studied in our first 2 weeks that all signals can be broken as a sum of time shifted delta signals, impulse signals, and then using the idea of divide and conquer, we wrote the output of an LTI system as the convolution of impulse response ht and the input. So for that we needed to break the input signal as a sum of delta signals. The story should have been or could have been stopped at that point only, but after that we attempted to break an input signal in a different way. Instead of a sum of delta signals, we attempted to break it as a sum of exponential signals. And then today we saw that by virtue of that and the principle of divide and conquer, we can again calculate the output in this way. But why do we need this different method? While breaking the signals into impulse signals was enough to calculate the output, why we need to break it into exponential signals again? Okay, so for that let me ask, suppose the output or the desired output of a system yt is known or given, and we want to know or to find the required input xt that will produce the desired output. That is yt. So suppose ht is known because we have possibly all the information about a system. Yt is known or given, and xt is to be found out. How to do that? This is one of the practical questions which we asked during our initial lectures. Recall that we gave an example of a train. We said we may have a desired pattern of the speed of the train, and we want to know how should I move my lever, the control lever, such that the train follows that desired pattern of speed or output. Okay? Y known, H known, X is the unknown. It is not easy to find X from this formula. It is easy to find Y from this formula if X is known, but the reverse is not easy. And now we will see that the reverse is easy with the idea of breaking a signal into exponential signals. Here is the prescription to find this answer. First, break the desired output signal into a sum of exponential signals. You may again use Laplace transform for this. So we may write yt equal to 1 over 2 pi j integration of capital Y s e to the power st ds, here omega from minus infinity to plus infinity, and sigma should be in the ROC, and where Ys equal to the Laplace transform of output signal, desired output signal, which is given. Then step 2, for each of these output components, calculate the required input. Okay, so consider one particular output component, which is Ys e to the power st ds divided by 2 pi j. Then the required component, required input will be this output e to the power st ds by 2 pi j whole divided by 1 by hs. Okay, and then you have to add all these required input components. So required input xt will be the integration of this thing. Okay, so integration of y s, let me write hs here, e to the power st ds. We have to add this for all values of s, and so omega from minus to plus infinity, sigma inside the region of convergence, and the constant 2 pi j can be written outside. So this is nothing but Laplace inverse of capital Y s by h s. So now inverse calculation is also possible. Given a desired output, we can calculate the required input. Of course, sometimes it is not possible to find any input which will produce our desired output. So we are dealing with three things. One is the system, another is the input, call it xt, and third is the output yt. Now the system may be described by the impulse response, assuming the system to be LTI, or it may be described by the Laplace transform of ht, that is Hs. We call this the transfer function. Okay, now suppose if input is given, the system is completely described to us. That means either ht or hs is given, and we want to find the output, we can do that. We can either calculate yt equal to xt star ht, or you can do it in this way, Laplace inverse of x, capital X's, capital H's. That is easy. Next, if the system is known, output or desired output is known, and the required input is to be calculated, then you can do it in this way, that xt is Laplace inverse of capital Y s by Hs. This is another possible situation. The third possible situation is like this, where input is given, output is given, and the system is to be designed. Okay, so for example, consider a train which has a control lever with which I can change the speed of the train, and I want the speed of this train to vary in this way between two stations, like this. So this is the desired speed output as a function of time. Now, to get this output, suppose the required way in which I should move the control lever is suppose like this. This is time versus input to the train, required input to the train. Okay. However, this is very difficult to adjust the lever in this way. Only an experienced driver may do that. But suppose I also want to drive this train, but I am not that experienced. So what I may do, I may take the help of an assisting system, okay, which I will connect in cascade to the train. This can be some mechanical arrangement which will have another control input, maybe some lever, and that input I will control, and I will control it, suppose in a simpler way like this, which is similar to the desired speed of the train. Okay, so this is how I will move the lever here, and then this mechanical arrangement will convert my input pattern into this pattern, which will then go to the train and give the required output. This can also be some electrical or electromechanical arrangement. Here I give my input, the assisting system converts my input into a different form, which then acts as the input to the train, and that produces the desired output. Now focus in the left part of this diagram, this part. Here this required output input to the train, which is the output from the assisting system, this is known, this pattern is known. Also the way I am going to move or change this input, that is also known. But this assisting system I have to design in a way such that when this input is given, this output is produced. So this is the unknown. So the system is unknown, required output and the specified input, these two are known. Now since the input is known, its Laplace transform is also known. Since the output is also given, capital Ys is also known, then from this relationship Ys is equal to Hs xs, we can say that the required transfer function for this assisting system should be Hs equal to Ys by xs. This tells us what should be the transfer function of the assisting system, which will produce this output for this input. Sometimes we may also see from this that it is not possible to find any transfer function or any system which will produce this output, this required output under this specified input. That is also possible. So this is another example, another practical example of a problem that that people in control system or control system engineering might deal with regularly, and we are able to solve such problems by virtue of the fact that the transfer function, the Laplace transform of input and output are related in this way, and this is possible by virtue of the fact that we can break a signal into a sum of exponential signals. Okay. In fact, all these are possible by virtue of the fact that exponential signals are eigensignals or eigenfunctions of LTI systems. Okay. So when you give an exponential input to an LTI system, it produces an output of the same form as the input, only multiplied by some overall constant. And in general, other signals like delta t, step signal, etc., they are not in general eigensignals of LTI systems. So let us see that with an example. So here is the question. We have a system with input output related via this linear ordinary differential equation with constant coefficients, and we are asked to check whether these different possible inputs are eigenfunctions of this system or not. Okay, so let us solve this. Let us first check this first one, xt equal to delta t, whether that is an eigenfunction or not. Let us assume that xt equal to delta t is an eigenfunction. So that means when you give xt equal to delta t as the input, you will get output equal to k times delta t. K is some constant. Because this is an eigenfunction, output will be input multiplied by some constant. Now, if we put this expression of output in this differential equation, what will we get? Okay. So this is the system equation. Now let us put y equal to k delta, then the second derivative is equal to delta double dot multiplied with k, then this first derivative will be delta dot multiplied with k, let me take k common, and y is delta multiplied with k, and right side xt is equal to delta t. Now, is it possible? No, this is impossible, because the right side contains only delta t, left side contains delta, delta dot, delta double dot. That is impossible. So xt equal to delta t is not an eigenfunction of this system. In the same way, you write any general linear differential equation with constant coefficients. For that system, delta t will not be an eigenfunction. Next, let us try xt equal to ut. Let us assume that this is an eigenfunction of the above system, and if so, then the output should be equal to k times the input for some constant k, and input is ut. Now this is the system equation. Let us put y equal to ku in this expression. So here we will get k times u, then the first derivative will be k times delta, and the second derivative will be k k times delta dot. The input is equal to ut. Is it possible? No, this is not possible. So, once again, this cannot be a eigenfunction of this system, or in that sense, any system which can be represented with a linear ordinary differential equation with constant coefficients. Okay, now in the same way, let us try xt equal to sine omega t. Case 3. Again, let us first assume that xt equal to sine omega naught t is an eigenfunction. That means when you apply sine omega naught t as the input, the output will be k times sine omega naught t, and then let us check whether this differential equation is satisfied or not. So the input is sine omega naught t, output is k times sine omega naught t, then this derivative will be k times cosine omega naught t multiplied with omega naught, and the second derivative will be k omega naught square sine omega naught t with a minus sign. Now the left side will be same as k common minus 3 omega naught square sine omega naught t plus 2 omega naught cosine omega naught t plus sine omega naught t. The right side is sine omega naught t. Now the right side does not have any cosine term, the left side has. So the only possibility is that omega naught equal to 0. Otherwise, if omega naught is non-zero, this is impossible. Impossible if omega naught is non-zero. So neither this is an eigenfunction, and I will leave it as an homework that cosine omega naught t can also cannot be an eigenfunction of systems which can be represented with linear ODE with constant coefficients. Okay, then what about xt equal to e to the power sigma t minus sigma t, or j omega t minus j omega t, or e to the power some complex number sigma plus j omega? We have already proved that any exponential signal is an eigenfunction for LTI systems, any LTI system. So all these are eigenfunctions. You can verify yourself. I will leave that as an homework. Now I want to make a few comments about how these exponential signals look like. Okay, so e to the power sigma t looks like this. Okay, this is e to the power sigma t, sigma greater than 0. This point is 1. If you consider e to the power minus sigma t, that will look like this. This is e to the power minus sigma t for sigma greater than 0. Then consider e to the power j omega t. Omega is a real number multiplied with j. So to draw this, we need a three-dimensional space, time axis horizontal, then this line perpendicular to the board represents the real component, real part of e to the power j omega t. This will represent the imaginary part of e to the power j omega t. And then if you consider omega to be positive, that signal will look like a spiral like this. And if omega is negative, it will rotate in the opposite direction. Now here omega is called the angular frequency because that tells us the amount or the angle of rotation per unit time. If you consider the number omega by 2 pi, call that f, then that is really the frequency, that is the number of complete cycles per unit time. Okay, cycles per unit time. So we call this omega as a frequency. Also, the unit of omega must be 1 by second or 1 by the unit of time, because when you multiply omega with t, unit of omega and unit of t will cancel and omega t will be a unitless number, and it must be unitless because e to the power some 1 kilogram or 1 minute or 1 meter does not make any sense. Only e to the power unitless numbers make sense. So unit of omega must be the reciprocal of unit of time. In the same way, for e to the power sigma t to make sense, the unit of sigma must be 1 over the unit of time. That means the unit of frequency. So in that sense, sigma is also called a frequency. Although here the signal is not oscillating or repeating, so you cannot say that this is the number of oscillation per unit time. Here sigma has the unit of frequency, and the value of sigma tells us how fast this signal changes. Okay, so an exponential signal, suppose its value becomes double after this amount of time. Okay, call this time tau. Here it is 1, here it becomes 2 after tau amount of time. Then after 2 tau amount of time, this signal will be 4 times. After 3 tau amount of time, this signal will be 8 times, and this value of tau depends on sigma. If sigma is larger, then tau will be smaller. So that means if sigma is larger, this signal will increase faster or will increase more frequently. So larger sigma means the signal will increase at will increase more frequently. In that sense also you can call sigma as the frequency. And then in general, if you consider a signal e to the power sigma plus j omega whole multiplied with t, that will be a spiral signal in this complex 3D space, whose magnitude will continuously decay or increase depending on sigma is positive or negative. And then once again this number sigma plus j omega must have a unit reciprocal to time, that is unit of frequency. Therefore this signal is called this number is called a complex frequency. Okay, so exponential signals e to the power st are eigensignals of LTI systems, where S can be complex in general, real, imaginary or complex, anything. And then when you apply such an input to an LTI system, you will get exactly same form of output, except that the magnitude of the signal may be different, but the pattern will be same. And this is what we call as eigensignals. You know why we call these eigensignals? You all have studied eigenvectors of a matrix. Just consider an arbitrary matrix like this, say 1, -1, 0, 0, 0, 0, and then 0, 0, 10, some 3 by 3 matrix. Now we can take a vector something like x1, y1, z1 and multiply that with this matrix, and that will give us another vector, call it x2, y2, z2. Now these vectors, they have some direction in a three-dimensional space, and so you can think that this is a vector which, being acted by this matrix, produces another vector, as if this is an input, this is an output. Now you give different inputs, different vectors, the product or the output will be different. For example, if you give the input as 1, 0, 0, then the output will be, you can calculate, it will be 0, 1, 0. Notice that here the direction of this vector is along the x-axis. Here the direction of this vector is along the y-axis. So the direction of this input and output are different. In the same way, if you consider say another input, say which is 0, 1, 0, the direction is along the y-axis. Here the output will be -1, 0, 0. The direction is along the -x-axis. So these two directions are different. In general, the direction of the input and output could be different. But if you consider say the input 0, 0, 1, that is along the z-axis, then the output you can calculate that will be 0, 0, 10. Notice that the direction of input and output both are along the z-axis. Although the magnitude of input and output are different, but the directions are same. And we call such a vector as the eigenvector of this matrix. Okay, when the magnitude of the product can change but the direction is same, and the direction is given by the relative ratio of these three components x, y, z, the proportions of x, y and z components, that determines the direction. When the direction is same, magnitude may or may not be same, we call this vector as the eigenvector of a matrix. In the same way, for a system, if the shape of the input and output is same, the magnitude may or may not be same, we call that an eigenfunction of that system. Let me finish today's class by reminding you the one of the very important thing that we have learned today. We already knew that for relaxed LTI systems, output is given by input convolved with the impulse response. Now, if we take the Laplace transform of both the sides, then the left hand side, let me call it capital YS, Laplace transform of output, that will be same as the product of Laplace transform of x and h, because the convolution property of Laplace transform says Laplace transform of convolution of two signals is same as the Laplace transform of first signal multiplied with the Laplace transform of the second signal, that is capital XS, Laplace transform of input, and capital HS, Laplace transform of impulse response. Okay, and the definition we call HS, that is the Laplace transform of HT, equal as the transfer function of the system. This is the definition of transfer function. Transfer function has all the information about a system, because if you know capital Hs, then you can calculate output Ys, Laplace transform of output for any arbitrary input, or you can take the Laplace inverse to get impulse response ht, and then from that you can calculate the output for any arbitrary input. That's one of the most important things we have learned today. See you in the next class. Bye.